at the root of it, you're both looking at the same thing. You're just seeing it through two different eyes and two different levels of education and understanding. So that's a quick summary of what perspective is, how you see something. But when it comes to philosophically speaking and consciously speaking, create your brand, the creator sees all. He is all. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere all the time. Like everything everywhere all the time. Period. He sees everything everywhere all the time. So the creator has the deepest perspective out of everything. And for me at least, one of the best ways to one of the best ways to come to understanding of different subjects is to be able to not just look through through my own eyes, to not just look through your own eyes, but to be able to look through somebody else's eyes from a different perspective, so that way you can have their understanding on the situation. Because if you just stay stuck in your own mental, that's being closed-minded. Being open-minded is being able to stop and be like, hold up, wait, I know y'all heard it before. There's his side of the story, there's her side of the story, and then there's the truth. When you're able to not just look through your perspective, but somebody else's perspective too, and put them together, now you can get to the truth of something. Because if you see something and I see something, we both see this, looking at the same thing, but we could be seeing two completely different things. But when you combine those together, that's when you can really get a deeper understanding of what you're looking at. Because I was wrong, you were wrong, but the collective is right. That's essentially God, how he sees everything. Because not that he doesn't just see it through humans' eyes, he sees it through the animals' eyes. He sees it through plants and how they feel. He sees it through every conscious and unconscious thing in this physical world. Because even though we've been taught a certain way that, certain things are conscious and unconscious, or sentient and non-sentient, that's just through a human perspective, because we really don't understand this shit at all, for real. At least as a whole collective when it comes to consciousness. Because, for example, things like these crystals, precious gems. This is sunstone. I got labradorite around my neck. I got turquoise around my neck. I got amethyst. I got tiger's iron. A lot of people gonna look at this and be like, it's a rock. It's your perspective. It's cool. I can understand why you see it that way, because if you go out into nature and you dig in certain spots, you're gonna find this. So you're gonna call it a rock. But the difference between rocks and crystals is rocks don't grow. Crystals grow over a long period of time. They literally grow, just like a plant would grow. It starts out at nothing and it forms over time. So who's to say this isn't alive? Just because it doesn't think and taste and hear like we do, how do we even know that? It might be able to see. It might be able to. I'm not gonna say. I say that for the sake of the conversation, but because I don't believe it sees, but I believe it feels. I believe it can hear. I believe it can feel vibrations and read the energy, not like we speak words and absorb it into our ears and translate it into a picture in order to be able to understand it, because that's what we do with language. When somebody speaks something, you absorb it through your ears and you picture something. Like whenever somebody tells you a story, you see the story relaying through your head. Now, this crystal might also feel them same vibrations that words are, but he doesn't, it's not a picture in its consciousness. It might just feel the type of vibration it is. You see what I'm saying? So we have to let me pause, because in order to be able to learn and to progress consciously, we have to unlearn a lot of things that we've been taught and that have been indoctrinated into us, because we've been lied to. If they lie to you about everything else, if they, you can look, I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but they lied to us about everything. You can go out into the world and look into shit and like politics. They give you two people to choose from when it comes time to pick a president. You think them people weren't put in position before you made your vote? They knew they was gonna come down to them two before it was even. This next election, it's 2026. This next election, they already know what two candidates are gonna go in there before you do. They're giving you the choice, so that way you think that you're choosing and you have some type of control over this, but in actuality they have set this shit up way before it has even got to that point. So back to what I was saying, we have to destruct what we've learned in order to learn the truth, because you can't have both of them inside your mind. They're gonna butt heads all the time. You're gonna go crazy because you have two opposing forces in your head that both, one says one thing, one says the other thing. You got them constantly going inside your head. It's gonna drive you crazy because you don't, at the end of the day, you're not gonna know what the truth is or the lie is, and it's gonna eat you alive thinking about it. But we have to be able to look through different perspectives at life in order to have a deeper connection with the Most High. And if the Most High is all loving and all knowing, and He is everywhere, He is everything everywhere all the time, and He sees everything and knows everything, you're limiting your connection with Him by being closed-minded and only looking through your perspective. When you start to look through everybody else's perspective and get a deeper understanding of everything around you, now you're starting to be more God-like. You're not just thinking as an individual, you're thinking as a collective. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to perspective, to me, I feel like that's one of the keys in consciousness, because if you go your whole life just looking through one lens, you're gonna miss a lot of shit. And when you miss out on a lot of shit, you have less understanding. It's as simple as that. So I'm just gonna read a little bit. These are, 2-3 pages long, just small short summaries of things. But I'm gonna read out of this in order to, be able to give y'all a broader spectrum on perspective. So, open this up right quick. I gotta hit my vape. One thing I've always been big on during my spiritual journey is perspective. How we view things in our own reality. For instance, myself and another person can be looking at the exact same thing but see two entirely different things. Why is that? Because from where I stand, whatever I'm looking at might look like a 6. This is the instance I gave you earlier. It might look like a 6, but from another view, it might look like a 9. But who's to say what reality is when it comes down to experiencing and looking at different things? The Creator, and I mean that on 2 levels. Well, hold on. Let me backtrack and say that again. But who's to say what reality is? The Creator, and I mean that on 2 levels. The first being from a human perspective. Whoever drew it out can settle the debate between myself and the other person as to what it is. The second being from God, the Most High perspective, since He's everything, all the time, everywhere. Whether I see it as a 6 or someone else sees it as a 9, regardless, is one of the infinite aspects, experiences of God, the Most High. And that probably went over a lot of y'all heads. God, or the Creator, is not some entity or figure sitting on a cloud somewhere and just looking down on everything, overruling it. That's a religious perspective. God is everything, everywhere, all the time. He's you. He's me. He's this vape. He's that piece of paper. He's a desk. He's my dresser. He's the computer. He's the clouds. He's the stars. He's the space in between the stars. He's the atoms. He's the molecules. He's the nucleus of the cell. He's everything. It's God is consciousness. And in order for God to better understand himself, he has projected himself into this physical reality in everything in order to get a deeper understanding of himself. Just take that in and ponder that for a second. Because a lot of people, like I said, when it comes to religion, they place God outside of everything else. But God, in all actuality, is everything. Now, oh yeah, and I'm going to go back to what I said on that. When it comes down to what something is and how somebody looks at it, the person with the ultimate, hey, look, 444, that's crazy. Angel numbers, that's what y'all call them, but I look at it as the universe or God talking to me. He's just he's sending different messages. But depending on what something is, depends on who or what created it. Like I said, whoever drew this 6 or 9, they got the ultimate say on what it is. Period. But who's, like I said, when you have two opposing forces looking on it, whatever reality they live in, that's what they think it is. But who created it gets the final say on what it actually is. That's the creator. Because even though we call it creation, but we just procreate, because everything was always here before we were here. We've just manipulated it and formed it into something else. So God has the final. God, I don't like to call him God. I'm going to say that right now, because with that comes the dogma of religion, because that's what religions call him, specifically, Christianity and Catholicism. But Judaism calls him Yahweh. Islam calls him Allah. The supreme consciousness is called different things in different religions. But I don't like to call him God, because that attaches it to the religion. That's why you'll hear me. I use multiple to try to touch in with different people watching this. But I use multiple pronouns when saying this, to give different people watching this a different connection, because I understand a lot of people have different beliefs. But ultimately, God has the final say on what everything is, because he created everything. We just procreate through him, because, like I said, everything's been here. We just take it and manipulate it into something else. But let me continue. Now, by controlling perception, you control your experience. It's my belief that God, the Most High, wants us to open our minds to be able to perceive things through other perspectives in order to have a better relationship with ourselves, others, whether human, animal, plant, whatever, and ultimately, God, the Most High. But that's all on you and how you open your mind and how willing you are to do that. But here's the catch. Who's in control of your own perception? Yourself or someone else? Who may or may not have your best interest at heart? This goes back to what I said. The people in control have hijacked your perception to look at certain things a certain way in order to control you. This is why they've put God on that pedestal of a white man sitting on a cloud. I'm not going to get too far into race, but they put him as a white man sitting on a cloud controlling everything. And they've depicted this whole heaven and hell scenario in order to control you. We want you to do this, and if you don't, and you do this, you go to hell. So we're pushing you in the direction that we want you to go. Hold on. I need my music in the background. Facebook got these commercials and shit be fucking me up. They're actually making me watch this whole commercial. I need my drum. I need my Northern Cree playing in the background. But they've hijacked our perspective in order to control us. It's that simple. The bottom line is this: creating your own reality is based on your perspective, and the possibilities are infinite. Choose wisely. How you choose, how your reality is set forth in front of you is how you see it. It's how educated you are in whatever you're looking at is whatever you know about it is how you're going to see it. So to get a better understanding, you need to educate yourself about certain things in order to push yourself out of that mindset. And like I said, in order, when you start looking outside your own perspective and through other people's perspectives, just like God does, because he is everything everywhere all the time, you in turn connect more with him because you're pushing yourself outside of just you into everything like he is. Now, that's just perspective. Now, I went beyond perspective. Let's take a step further. Our visible perspective is very limited. The only part we can see falls between red and violet. Directly outside of that, infrared and ultraviolet. What we know outside of that is enormous, if not infinite. As technology progresses, we invent new ways to measure and use these different wavelengths. Now, a lot of y'all probably don't understand that. But like I said, everything that we see is between red and violet. Okay, I'll use this. If this is everything that we know, this small centimeter at the bottom of this paper is what we see as visible light. Well, I'm gonna start in the middle. What we see is visible light. That's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Directly outside of red is infrared, and directly outside of violet is ultraviolet. Now, past that, all this up here and all this down here, we can't see. This is what we use as microwaves. Like the shit that you put in, you make your motherfucking hot pockets and your pizza rolls. Those are microwaves. Radio waves, what we use to transmit sound through the air into your car so you can listen to music. Gamma rays, radio, like it's so many different types of. It's so much outside of our visible reality that we can't see. We're able to tune into different things using different methods, but as far as perspective visually goes, we only see a small fraction of what's out there. It's so much more out there, and I really don't want to get into it, but if you ask me, that's where the spiritual realm is. It's past our capability of seeing out inside the light spectrum. And again, if you ask me in my beliefs, this is how mediums and psychics are able to tune in to spiritual entities, because they're on a little bit of a higher frequency and they're able to say a spirit is riding a radio wave and communicates through a radio wave. They're able to tune into radio waves, therefore they're able to hear spirits. Say the spirit is riding the ultraviolet ray, the ultraviolet wave. We can't see the ultraviolet wave, but maybe this medium is able to, and that's why she can see spirits. You see what I'm saying? So it's so much more outside of our physical perspective than what we can see, like way more. I think I actually broke down the numbers. It's somewhere in here, but let me keep going. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Some of these wavelengths can be heard, radio waves, or felt physically, x-rays, but not without technology to amplify them. So for the most part, we are unaware of a lot of the stuff that's going on around us. Now, who's to say what's going on in these spectrums on visible levels outside our human eyes. Just because we aren't tuned into seeing things past our visible sight doesn't mean they don't exist. Maybe there are entities in these spectrums, whether self-aware or not. Maybe spirits, ghosts, demons, angels are based in these spectrums. Some may be completely stuck there, as most humans are stuck in the visible light spectrum. Some may be able to communicate with us to some extent, just as some humans or clairvoyants or clairaudience are able to communicate with them. Maybe some animals are also, I doubt, my notes are funny. Maybe some animals are tuned into that too. Like maybe animals really are able to see, hear, and feel outside of our light spectrum. That's why before an earthquake happens, they know it. They can feel it. That's why they can see spirits. They're more tuned into these other layers of reality that we're not tuned into. Currently, we have no way of knowing this, and the only theory until we heighten our consciousness and awareness. But the bottom line is this: we live in a physical world with many layers around us that are metaphysical. So to broaden our consciousness awareness, we have to and have a closer connection to God the Most High. We must open our minds up past our physical senses. Example: if your body is a television, you're only tuned in to one channel, but there is an infinite amount of channels. It's all how you tune yourself into what channel you want to watch. Just because you're tuned into one channel doesn't mean the other channels cease to exist. That's the best analogy I can use. Period. We're so stuck on MTV, we can't see TNT, FX, Stars, HBO, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, ABC, NBC. We can't see these things because we're stuck watching TNT. It might not be possible physically because we're so suppressed and sleep to actually tune into these other layers of existence, but trust and believe, some people are. Some animals are like that, like yo mama best friend cousin who do readings. Like, she not crazy, she not making that shit up. She just tuned in. She not just stuck on MTV. She can see VH1 and CBS and ABC. She might not be able to see be on every channel because she's not God or the Most High, but she's a little bit more tuned in than we are. So I painted that picture just to show you how small on a collective human level that our awareness is. We can only see like the smallest part of what we call reality. It's so much more outside of this. Like, I really wish I had the numbers right here to show you the actual ratio and percentage that we can see, but I'm not going to spit and shoot off the hip because I really don't know them offhand. But you can Google it when you back out of this or whatever. Just go on Google and Google physical light spectrum. It'll give you a scale. It'll show you a tiny portion like this where the whole rainbow is, and then it's about this much that we can't see, and it'll show you how broad microwaves and radio waves and gamma rays and x-rays and all these things are compared to us. Now, I'm damn near at an hour on this video, and I really don't want to go too far past that. But the last thing I want to touch on when it comes to perspective is how we decode the physical realm when it comes to perspective. Humans, a lot of the time, are really just tuned in. A lot of our reality is based off what we see. That's where the phrase "seeing is believing" comes from. But anybody who has any type of education understands that we have sight, smell, taste, feeling, and hearing. People might go on beyond that and say we have a sixth sense. That's that gut feeling that be telling you, don't go over there and do that because something going on over there, but your mind overrules that and tries to think logically, and you do it anyways. And then when you go over there and do that shit and some shit happens, you like, damn, I should listen to my gut. That's that sixth sense that we have that a lot of people really aren't tuned into, or that scientists really don't understand completely, so it's not put into our physical sense. Like, it's not educated. We're not educated on that as part of our physical senses. But I want to go a little bit beyond just what our physical senses is, because like I said, if you have any type of education, you understand. Use your tongue to taste, you use the ears to hear, you use your nose to smell, you use your eyes to see, and you use your skin to feel. And I'm gonna say this: what I just said was a complete lie, because we don't use our tongues to taste, we don't use our nose to smell, we don't use our eyes to see, we don't use our ears to hear, and we do not use our skin to feel. The reason we feel something is because our body has the central nervous system in there. You have nerve endings all through your whole body. When you touch something, your nervous senses sends a signal up to your brain, and your brain feels it. When you see something, your eyes don't see it. Your retina and your cornea absorb light, and it gets processed through your brain, and your brain sees. When something touches your tongue doesn't taste it. Your taste buds absorb that, process it through your brain, and your brain tastes it. Your brain is the center of your whole perspective of your physical senses. Not see, this is just another layer. This is just another way they sort of tune you off, because people, I know somebody's sitting there right now, even before I said all this, and they were like, yeah, you use your skin to touch. But if you have any type of sense, you'll understand what I just said. Your brain is at the center of all your physical senses. It does the seeing, tasting, touching, feeling, and hearing. Your skin, your tongue, your nose, these are just vessels and channels to the brain. But your brain is the thing that actually decodes everything. That takes in the physical reality after it's been channeled to it. So I use this as an analogy to go back to touch on, like I said earlier, you're not the body. You're not even the brain. The brain is just a biological computer where the consciousness lives, where the mind lives. It's not the brain. It's not the body. The consciousness. I was building with a brother one day, and I had a quote that popped into my head, and it's somewhere in this book, but I don't want to flip and find it right now. Our body is the physical manifestation of the soul. Our brain is the physical manifestation of the mind, and the mind is consciousness. So, in essence, the reason that our physical reality is able to be perceived and understood at the base is consciousness. Consciousness in the mind uses the brain. The brain uses the physical vessel, and the physical vessel goes out and does the work in the spiritual realm, or in the physical realm, in order to map it out into understanding. So I think I'm going to end on that note. But the basis of this whole build I'm having right here is, like I said, perspective. We have to stop living through our eyes. We have to be able to live through other people's eyes and see what they're going through, and to better understand what they're going through. That's where the phrase and quote comes from. Like, you'll never understand a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes. Once we've taken the time to, you might not really actually walk with this person's shoes on, obviously, but once you've taken your perspective and you've put it into theirs, and you've thought about it enough to look at their life through their lenses, you'll have a better understanding of what that person's going through. That's why I don't judge anybody and look down on anybody for any type of choices that they make or whatever type of life they live, because you don't know what that person went through in order to make the choices that they made. Just like they don't know what you've went through and the choices that you made. Why you smoke weed all day? You might be depressed because you got some type of past traumas and you're trying to, cope with them. They got shit going on too. But the creator, the most high, and God is supreme consciousness. He's everywhere all the time. He's everything. So when you are able to understand perspective, to look through somebody else's eyes, to hear through their ears, to smell through their nose, to taste through their tongue, and to feel in their skin, it broadens your awareness and pushes you deeper in that connection with God, because, like I just broke down, at the root of their physical senses is their brain. At the root of their brain is their mind and their consciousness. And consciousness is God. God is consciousness. It's just that simple. So if we want to be able to progress and learn and grow as humans, we gotta stop just being looking through our own lens. We gotta go put that man's shoes on. You don't gotta live in them forever. You just gotta be able to take the time to be able to understand, like to walk in his shoes, so that way you got a better understanding of what he's going through. And then once you get a better understanding of what he's going through, you'll form that connection with him and be able to, maybe help that man out, help him be able to get out of the situation that he's in, or to talk about whatever traumas he or she done been through, so that way they can get out of the rut that they're in and be able to progress. So I'm gonna end that there, family. Like I said, it's my first video, so it is what it is. I think I did a pretty good job. I want y'all to, give me y'all perspective. I'm gonna post this on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, every avenue I can, so that way I can touch as many people as I can. But I definitely want your guys' input on everything that I said, and I definitely want you to follow through on my journey, because this, like I said, this is just the first one. I got a whole notebook here of shit I want to talk about, and like I said, we got a lot of work to do, y'all. It's time to wake up. It's definitely time to wake up. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm gonna be your alarm clock if y'all let me. If not, that's cool. But I know even if you listen to this,